Hello everyone, this is Brett and welcome to a new episode of Friday on the Turntable. By far the most popular videos on my YouTube channel have been my album rankings. And so I am happy to say that I'm kickstarting that series by request with an album ranking on L&R Rockets. If you are new to my channel and have not subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button to keep up to date on my videos, which I'm endeavoring to post every Friday. I do these album ranking videos for fun. For those of you maybe unfamiliar with the bands I'm featuring or maybe know a song or two, hopefully this will be a catalyst to kickstart a deeper dive for you. If you're a longtime fan, I look forward to reading your comments, your rankings of the albums in L&R Rockets catalog. Yeah, so let's get to this. So L&R Rockets formed in 1985 after the demise of the godfathers of goth rock, Bauhaus. L&R Rockets formed by Daniel Ash on guitar and vocals, David J on bass and vocals, and David J's brother Kevin Haskins on drums. After Bauhaus broke up in 1983, Ash and Haskins formed the short-lived Tones on Tail. David J was working on some solo stuff, and then they got back together to form L&R Rockets. Their original run lasted from 1985 to 1999. In that time, they put out 7 albums. They reunited back in 2007, 2008 for a handful of shows, including Lollapalooza and Coachella. And then they announced just in recent times that they are getting back for their first show in 15 years at the Cruel World 2 Festival in Pasadena in spring of 2023. I am going to, as I talk about these albums and mention my 3 favorite songs from each, I will be collecting those in a YouTube playlist, which I'll have linked in the description. And let's see here what else. Oh, and I've had a few questions from people asking, did you get the L&R Rockets vinyl box set that came out? Yes, I did. And I'm going to show it after I get through the ranking videos. For those of you vinyl collectors that want to see the colors and the editions of these, please hang on until the end of the video and I'll go through that. All right, so I'm going to be doing this in reverse order. So we're going to start at number 7 and work our way towards my favorite ones. Favorite one. Okay, so in at number 7 is the 7th album and L&R Rockets' final album. This is Lift. I have friends that love this album, and I revisit it every couple of years just to see if my thoughts on it have changed. And I just feel like, being in 1998 in the CD era, it's just a bit too long, a couple songs too long maybe. It clocks in at 69 minutes, so over an hour. It's an electronic album. When you think about L&R Rockets beginning 7th Dream of Teenage Heaven, 1985, and in 13 years, it's such a dramatic departure. Not that that's a bad thing. I love when bands experiment and change their sound over the years and evolve. I think that's incredibly admirable. I'm a big fan of that. But the single Resurrection Hex on this, if you listen closely and if you know the Bauhaus catalog, you'll hear these little glimmers of Daniel Ash's scratchy guitar part that he does in Stigmata Martyr, and that's sampled within that song. Bauhaus ended up reuniting just right before Lift came out, and it was on a label called Red Ant, which kind of went out of business pretty quickly after the release of this. So this album didn't get a whole lot of promotion back then. But my 3 favorite songs in this one are R.I.P. 20C, Holy Fool, and Too Much Choice. That's my number 7, Lift. In at number 6, the 6th album. This came out in 1996. This is Sweet F.A. I bought this when it came out. I've always really liked this album, but as I've been compiling this list, I think it also suffers by being just a couple songs too long, clocking in at 61 minutes, so just a little bit over an hour. When you think about the catalog and what came before this and what came after it, sandwiched in between 2 electronic albums is this more kind of guitar-driven, which kind of harkens back to their earlier sound. Still sounds different than their earlier stuff, but definitely a more guitar-based record. I was fortunate to see them twice on this tour. Although here's a ticket stub that's made it through, back at Club Rio in Tempe, Arizona in March 24th when the Dandy Warhols opened for them. And then I saw them at the same venue a few months later where they supported porno for pyros. So, Sweet FA, favorite tracks on this one: Sweet Lover Hangover, Sweet FA, and the David J. vocal song Spiked, which is a really intense one. So that's my number 6 choice, Sweet FA. In at number 5, a lot of people's gateway to Love and Rockets because it contains their most popular song, So Alive. This is their self-titled album from 1989, the 4th in their catalog. Listening back to this in hindsight, in listening back to it now in present day, I can't help but hear the blues influence on this album. Blues chord progressions, shuffle or a swing feel to the rhythm. I still really enjoy this record. Favorite songs on this one are Motorcycle, So Alive, which I never get tired of that song. You can see my little 7-inch and cassette single over there. And Rock and Roll Babylon, which kind of harkens back a little bit to like Bauhaus's Slice of Life, where you hear Love and Rockets kind of emerging out of that final Bauhaus record. So that is my number 5 pick, Love and Rockets. In at number 4, if I would have made this list 10 years ago, I would have probably said I would have never placed this album in at number 4. But nowadays, I have a lot of nostalgia and a lot of history with some of the albums that are going to be in picks 1 through 3. But nowadays, when I want to grab a Love and Rockets album to listen to, it's going to be Hot Trip to Heaven. This album, when it came out, did not do very well. A lot of the old-time Love and Rockets fans did not like it. It's a largely electronic record, and when you think that this album came before it, albeit there was a 5-year break between these records, but it's just such an interesting progression for them. Let's see here. You have electronic, dance, techno, ambient, trip hop. You compare this to Seventh Dream of a Teenage Heaven, and it's just night and day. Be the Revolution is probably the closest in sound to Daniel Ash's Bauhaus guitar sound. Think of Dark Entries or In the Flat Field. Ugly, if you strip away some of the percussion and the Natasha Atlas vocals, you have that quintessential just Love and Rockets Daniel Ash melody. Voodoo Baby to me sounds like a lost Tones on Tail song. So really love Hot Trip to Heaven. Favorite songs in this one for you to investigate are Trip and Glide, Ugly, and Body and Soul. If you listened to this back then and didn't like it, give it a new try, because your appreciation, I think, will change. Hot Trip to Heaven in at number 4. All right, we're all the way to the top 3. So my third favorite Love and Rockets at this point in time is the first album, Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven, 1985. Psychedelic. It always makes me think of Syd Barrett of Pink Floyd. This was preceded by a single which didn't appear on the album called Ball of Confusion, which was a cover of the Temptation song. It ended up being attached to the US version of their second album, Express, which I'll talk about. Love Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven. It's cool to see the band in the infancy and listen back to it now. Has just probably my second favorite Love and Rockets song, Saudade, which is the instrumental that closes the album. I listen to that song. I've listened to it so much. It always makes me think of that great instrumental on the Church's Heyday album, Happy Hunting Ground. Just amidst all these kind of rock-based songs with vocals, and then you have this just beautiful instrumental. Other favorites on this one: The Dog End of a Day Gone By, Haunted When the Minutes Drag, but from beginning to end, great stuff. That's number 3, Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven. Number 2, this was probably the first one I got on cassette. It came out in 1987. This is Earth, Sun, Moon. This is primarily an acoustic album, except the opening track, Mirror People, which sounds a bit different from the rest of the album. Jane's Addiction toured as the support band on this tour. Just a great one. So favorites on this one: Waiting for the Flood, Youth, Earth, Sun, and Moon, No New Tale to Tale was a pretty big MTV alternative hit back then. So that's my number 2 pick, Earth, Sun, Moon. You're hearing my cat. He's expressing his viewpoints on Love and Rockets right now. All right, that takes us now to, if you guys have been keeping score, if you're familiar with the Love and Rockets catalog, you know what's coming up. This is their second album, Express, from 1986. Probably, it was the first one I remember getting. It was one of my early records that I had, and I've listened to this one more than the rest of them, and that is why it is holding the number 1 spot. It also has my absolute favorite Love and Rockets song, All in My Mind. What's interesting about this album is that it has 2 versions of All in Mind, one called the acoustic version. And I've always been fascinated with that song because it never does the chorus. It gets right up to the buildup of the pre-chorus, and then it never climaxes. It just never gives you that payoff of that big chorus section of the song. And I always found that fascinating that they chose to do that. Other favorites on this one, it could be Sunshine and Kundalini Express. So that's my number 1 favorite from the Love and Rockets catalog. Oh, and American Dream, total vibes of Bauhaus's Silent Hedges with Daniel Ash's 12-string guitar playing. So there we go. All right, so I'm going to show these records in more detail here. So for those of you kind of cutting out right now, I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on the album rankings, and I'll be back with more of these. So let's talk about the vinyl box set now. So this just came out back in, I think it was December, on Beggars. Beggars Banquet was the label that the Bauhaus albums, the first, 4 were released on, until they signed with American Recordings for Hot Trip to Heaven and Sweet F.A. So this collects the first 6 albums. Unfortunately, Lift is not in here. So it's called the albums 1985 to 96. You can see the track listings on the back, and it does come with a psychedelic swirl slip mat. Limited edition to 1,000 copies. This is already sold out, but they are individually releasing the albums, and the first 2, 7th Dream and Express, have been individually released, and so you should be able to pick those up at your local store or online. Let's just go through and I'll show you what's in this set. I'll show you, if they're gatefolds, I'll open them up so you guys that are sticking around can take a look at them. And I'll show you the vinyl color as well, because these are all colored. So let's go to the first one. So this is 7th Dream of Teenage Heaven, first album, gatefold sleeve. And this one is on, to match the cover, I think they call it Scion, which is blue. All right, number 2, Express. Second album, 1986, single sleeve. Not a gatefold, but it does have a printed inner sleeve with lyrics and credits and stuff. Take a guess what color? Yes, you're right. It is red. The third album, 1987's Earth, Sun, Moon. Also not a gatefold. And this one comes on, where are you? Probably guessed it. White vinyl. Fourth album, perhaps the coolest looking one in the bunch. Also a single pocket. And this one comes in a printed inner sleeve. Song titles and credits. And this is on this quad, black and white. Really cool. Hot Trip to Heaven. Came out in 1994, so a super difficult one to find on vinyl. This is in a gatefold. There's the band. 2 records. It does include 3 bonus tracks on the 4th side. And this is on this really neat, you can see it, yeah. Black, blue, gray kind of splatter. And then Sweet F.A., which is its first ever vinyl release. This came out originally in 1996. Also a gatefold with the band. 2 records. Has all bonus tracks on side D, just like Hot Trip to Heaven. And it is on this kind of brown smoke swirl color, which I assume since there was a fire when they were recording this album in the studio, thus the burnt guitar on the cover, I think the cover or the color of the record is intended to blend with that. And as I said, lift not included for whatever reason. I've come across vinyl copies of that in the past, 10 plus years ago, and never grabbed it. That's all right. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I look forward to reading your comments, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.